Chuck Hagel was a Republican senator from Nebraska before being tapped as defense secretary by President Obama. And he's joining me now from Washington. Welcome back to our program. So,
thank you, Christine.
Defense secretary and also still a Republican. We'll get into what kind of Republican in a moment. But do you agree with Senator Bennett, Democrat from Colorado? This is unacceptable. This is a whole load of other words that he used there. What's your reaction?
Well, I think Senator Bennett's comments were appropriate. My reaction is amazement, astounding. Is this gross incompetence? Is it recklessness? Is it both? It's certainly confusion. And when you've got confusion at the top with the very most important national security institutions that defend our country and protect our intelligence and have relationships with other countries, we've got a problem. And I don't think Senator Bennett or other senators in that hearing yesterday overstated anything. I think they were right on it. And in addition, what the Atlantic, Mr. Goldberg, released today, I think just backs that up. It was just truly astounding that we would see that released in the form of a non-secure government channel. And I just have never heard of that before. I've never seen that before.
So that I was going to ask you, had you ever seen anything like this before? So let me ask you one of the most important questions, because the White House says that these were not war plans, that the story is a hoax, you know, the typical blame the messenger. So I want to ask you two questions. Are they war plans, what you've read? I mean, they seem to me rules of engagement. I've been in the field. I wonder what you think. And B, is this information that ordinarily would be considered classified?
Well, I think it is information that would ordinarily be classified for obvious reasons. I mean, details of a strike, a war strike, it's going to kill people, do damage. That's the intent of it. I think that is classified information. And you can parse words, or you can parse dimensions of the issue, and is it a war plan or a war strike? But it's all the same, and in many ways you can say that the specifics of a war strike, which this laid out, is even more important, and probably should be even more classified than war plans. But all of those, I think, are classified.
Yeah,
and should be classified.
And it's interesting you're mentioning the use of semantics, because Hegseth, over the last 24 hours or so, has insisted, and he's basically denied, we didn't text any war plans. I mean, it's not true. It's untruthful. Would you agree? And this is the current Defense Secretary of the United States.
Well, it is untruthful. And I'm sorry to see that for obvious reasons, because this is a baseline. This is a new administration that's barely been in office 2 months. And our allies, our friends, relationships that we've depended on for years and years to share intelligence, not just NATO, but countries all over the world. When they see this, they lose trust. They lose confidence in us. And I hear from ambassadors all the time. What are we going to do? What should we do? What are our alternatives if America is doing this? And then they see this kind of incompetency that's public and reflected and pretty clear. That just goes deeper into their mistrust and lack of confidence in us, and there are consequences for that. And there'll be significant consequences for that.
What kind of consequences? I just want to, follow your lead for a moment, because not only were these war plans, attack plans, strike plans, used over this commercial satellite, in, violation of protocol, and I'll get to that in a second. But they said the most awful things about European allies. I mean, it was like a kid's coffee klatch. Oh, the Europeans are pathetic. Oh, let's figure out how we can do this and make the Europeans pay. Oh, I'm fed up with bailing out the Europeans. I mean, what is it with them in Europe?
Well, I don't know. Answer your question, what is it with them in Europe? But I think it reflects what the president has said. President Trump has said that the Europeans and NATO allies are freeloaders, and they've taken advantage of America since World War II. And to say those things, and again, in open channels, really, just reflects where the president and I think this administration are. But back to my point about consequences and how dangerous things like this are. The post-World War II world order, with all its problems, with all its flaws, has worked out pretty well. And we led that world order based on the rule of law and freedom of navigation, a free trade. Everybody has opportunities. There's been no World War III. There's been no nuclear exchange. More people free and prosperous today than ever before. And what you're doing here by saying these kinds of things and moving in this direction, you are undoing the foundations of that post-World War II world order. Mm-hmm. And that will create, if that happens, matter of fact, that will create a world order that is fractured. And there will be a vacuum in the world, and there will be new leaders. And I don't like the alternatives here, the options. I don't think this president and this administration understand the consequences of where we're headed if we withdraw from our Western alliances and NATO, and the president's talked about pulling troops out of South Korea, out of Japan. It's because of our relationships that we've been able to project power around the world, and because we've been successful. Yes, we've had problems. Yes, we have issues. We still do. But you need to manage those. You need to get better, and we will. But this is not the way to go. So when I say consequences, Christiana, this is what I mean. I mean, long-term consequences. You always ask the question, what happens next? Where are we going? How does this end? Those are the relevant questions, and we're not asking those.
I just want to quickly go back to when you were Defense Secretary. How would a battle plan have been discussed with the principals? What is the operational, efforts, or rather the operational, security that needs to be in place for that?
Well, we would discuss it within the Pentagon in secure surroundings, in secure rooms. We wouldn't text each other or go on the internet and discuss it with 15 people. We would have secure rooms in the Pentagon. That would be the Pentagon piece of it. But when you would branch that out, which you always have to with the president, National Security Advisor, State Department, Attorney General, it'd be in the Situation Room in the White House. That's where those discussions took place, in the top secret Situation Room in the White House. I don't ever recall using any kind of a vehicle outside of secure government networks to discuss any of this.